Imagine a place where the clock becomes a useless artifact. A corner of the planet where the sun refuses to sleep for 3 straight months, burning the retina with an infinite golden light, to then disappear completely, plunging a whole town into an eternal, bluish darkness. This is not science fiction. It is the extreme north. But what does this light torture do to the human mind? The answer lies hidden among mountains that slice the sky like granite knives. Welcome to the frontier of reality.
Number 1. The Abyss of Light and Shadow.
10,000 years ago, the ice decided the Earth was too soft. With unimaginable geological violence, the glaciers carved deep furrows into the rock, allowing the sea to invade the heart of the continent. Thus, the fjords were born. They are not simple bays, they are the scars of an ancient war between ice and stone. The Geiranger Fjord, a World Heritage Site, stands with vertical walls over 1,000 meters high. Looking up from the water is to feel the insignificance of human existence. Nature cries from these rock walls. The waterfalls known as the Seven Sisters plummet in free fall, a curtain of furious whitewater that never stops. Legend says that 7 women dance waiting for a suitor who never comes, trapped in the stone forever. The noise is deafening, a mix of thunder and constant whisper that reminds the local inhabitants that nature here is alive and it is relentless. To tame this impossible geography, human beings had to build engineering works that seemed to defy physics. The Atlantic Road, 8.3 kilometers of asphalt that leap from island to island, curving over a sea that often tries to devour it. When autumn storms hit, the waves break directly over the cars. It is considered the most beautiful road in the world, but also one of the most dangerous. A miscalculation here doesn't take you to the ditch, it takes you to the bottom of the Arctic Ocean. But if you cannot go over the water, you must go through the mountain. Norway boasts the longest road tunnel on the planet, the Longyearbyen Tunnel. 24.5 kilometers of underground darkness, 20 minutes driving under millions of tons of rock. To prevent drivers from losing their sanity or falling asleep due to monotony, engineers used color psychology. Large caverns illuminated with blue and yellow lights simulate an artificial sunrise in the bowels of the earth, tricking the brain to keep it alert. All this wild landscape hides a secret beneath the sea surface, much deeper than the fjords: black gold. The discovery of oil in the late 60s transformed a nation of humble fishermen into one of the richest countries in history. But unlike other nations, here the money is not seen in golden skyscrapers or vulgar excesses. It is saved. A pension fund of over $1 trillion ensures that no future generation knows poverty. It is a silent wealth, almost invisible, like a dragon sleeping on its treasure underwater. However, all this wealth and beauty pales before what happens further north, in an archipelago forgotten by God where the rules of civilization are broken. We leave the continent. We head to Svalbard, a place where polar bears outnumber humans and where no one is allowed to be born. But most disturbing of all is that no one is allowed to die.
Number 2. The City Where Time Freezes.
If you feel your heart starting to fail or a terminal illness takes over your body in Longyearbyen, you will not receive comfort here. You will be immediately boarded onto a plane and sent to the continent to die. It is not cruelty, it is sanitary survival. In 1950, scientists discovered something alarming in the local cemetery. Bodies buried decades ago were not decomposing. The permafrost, the permanently frozen soil layer, acts as a perfect fridge, preserving the flesh and the viruses that killed it. Beneath the snow of this town rest intact bodies of victims of the Spanish flu of 1918. The virus is still there, dormant, frozen in time, waiting for a thaw to wake up again. That is why dying here is illegal. The earth rejects the dead and threatens the living. This is the only place on earth where nature does not allow the natural cycle of ashes to ashes and dust to dust. Here, what is buried remains. But sleeping viruses are not the only threat. Upon leaving the city limits, the law changes drastically. It is mandatory to carry a high-caliber rifle. It is not to hunt, it is to avoid being hunted. In Svalbard, 3,000 polar bears inhabit the land, outnumbering the 2,500 humans. These are not zoo bears, they are alpha predators that view humans as a simple source of protein. Going to the university or the supermarket implies looking over your shoulder, knowing that a white giant can emerge from nowhere in the storm. However, in the middle of this hostile desert, humanity has built its greatest hope. Embedded in a mountainside, a futuristic concrete structure protrudes like an alien monolith. It is the Svalbard Global Seed Vault, popularly known as the Doomsday Vault. Its entrance, illuminated with turquoise fiber optics, looks like a portal to another dimension. It was designed to withstand earthquakes, nuclear bombs, and the collapse of civilization. We cross the armored steel doors and walk 120 meters into the interior of the icy mountain. The air is artificially kept at 18 degrees below zero. Here sleep more than 1 million seed samples from every country in the world, from Mexican corn to Asian rice. If a world war, an asteroid, or a pandemic were to wipe out our crops, this place would allow us to reboot global agriculture. It is the backup of human existence, a biological hard drive. We thought it was the safest place in the world, impregnable, eternal, but we were wrong. In the year 2017, the unthinkable happened. Global warming caused the permafrost, which was supposed to be solid as steel, to begin melting. Water flooded the tunnel entrance. The impenetrable fortress was breached by the very nature it was trying to protect. If the safest bank in the world is breaking, what hope remains for the rest? And while the ice melts in the north, in the south of Norway, something even more baffling occurs. An island where the country's most dangerous criminals live, but there are no bars, no cells, and no armed guards.
Number 3. The Glass Prison. 75 kilometers south of Oslo, a ferry crosses the gray waters towards Bastøy Island. There are no tourists on board. The passengers are murderers, traffickers, and rapists. But upon arriving at the dock, they are not greeted by barking dogs and concrete walls with barbed wire. They are greeted by a bucolic landscape of pine forests and red-painted wooden cabins. It looks like a luxury holiday retreat, but it is a security prison. In Bastøy, inmates have the keys to their own rooms. There are no cells. They live in shared houses, cook their own dinner, and work the land. What is most shocking is not their freedom of movement, but the tools they handle. Men convicted of violent crimes fell trees using axes and chainsaws without direct armed supervision. Norwegian logic is overwhelming and terrifying to the rest of the world. If you treat a person like an animal, they will behave like an animal. If you treat them like a human being, perhaps they will remember how to be one. Any critic would say this is madness, a lack of respect for the victims, but numbers don't lie. While in the United States or Latin America, the recidivism rate, that is, criminals who re-offend upon release, exceeds 60 or 70%, in Norway, that figure drops to 20%. It is the lowest in Europe. By removing revenge from the equation and focusing purely on rehabilitation, Norway has achieved the impossible, turning criminals into neighbors. But Bastøy is an open prison. What happens with the most dangerous criminals who cannot be on the loose? Welcome to Halden Prison. 7-meter walls, yes, but designed not to look like walls. The architect avoided gray concrete so as not to depress the inmates. The cells have flat-screen TVs, private ceramic bathrooms, and barless windows overlooking the forest. It costs $150,000 a year to maintain each prisoner. It is more expensive than studying at Harvard. In the common kitchen at Halden, inmates prepare their meals with sharp stainless steel knives, real knives. They are tethered with a steel cable, but the reach is sufficient to attack someone if they wanted to. However, attacks on guards are almost non-existent. Why? Because the guards do not carry weapons. They eat with the inmates, play video games with them, and play sports together. Security is not physical, it is dynamic security. It is based on interpersonal relationships. A prisoner does not stab the person who helps him with his math homework. This society seems to have reached a level of civility and structure so high that it borders on the absurd. But if you think treating criminals like kings is strange, wait until you see who their elite army honors. In Edinburgh, Scotland, lives a member of the Norwegian Royal Guard who holds the rank of brigadier. He inspects the troops, has a Medal of Honor, and a bronze statue.
Number 4. Echoes of Blood and Peace.
It is not a joke. His name is Sir Nils Olaf III. He lives in the Edinburgh Zoo, but his soul belongs to the Norwegian Royal Guard. In 2023, he was promoted to Major General. When elite Norwegian soldiers visit Scotland, they line up with millimeter precision to be inspected by this king penguin. He walks with aristocratic stiffness, stopping to squawk at poorly adjusted uniforms. He is the perfect symbol of a country that takes its sovereignty very seriously, but hasn't lost the ability to laugh at itself before the world. But Norway doesn't just export eccentricity, it exports the modern definition of peace. It is a fascinating historical irony. The Vikings, who for centuries terrorized the coasts of Europe with axes and fire, are now in charge of awarding the Nobel Peace Prize. Unlike the other Nobel Prizes delivered in Stockholm, Sweden, the Peace Prize is awarded exclusively at the Oslo City Hall. Alfred Nobel, the inventor of dynamite, stipulated in his will that this award be Norwegian. Perhaps he thought that no one understands the value of peace better than those who were once masters of war. However, before awards and politics, the law of this land was dictated by other beings, the trolls. Not the cute dolls in gift shops, but dark folklore entities that, according to legend, turn to stone when touched by sunlight. If you look at the Norwegian landscape, the legend comes to life. The rock formation Trolltunga, or Troll's Tongue, juts out into the void at 700 meters high. Trollstigen, the Troll's Ladder, winds up the mountain. To ancient Norwegians, mountains were not dead geology, they were the petrified bodies of their mythical enemies. That mix of paganism and Christianity created an architecture that exists nowhere else in the universe, the stave churches, or stavkirke. They look like something out of a dark fantasy novel. Built entirely of pitch-cured wood without a single nail, they have withstood 800 years of brutal winters. But look at the roofs. There are no crosses on the finials. There are dragon heads, identical to those on Viking ships. It is physical proof of a cultural transition, a house for Christ protected by Odin's monsters. These churches are national treasures, irreplaceable. But in the early 1990s, the night sky of Norway lit up with the color of hell. One after another, the millennial churches began to burn to the ground. It was not an accident, it was a declaration of cultural war. A group of young musicians, creators of an extreme and violent musical genre, decided that Christian heritage had to be erased with fire. The world watched in horror as Norway birthed true Norwegian black metal. But what was born from those ashes is a final curiosity that defines the country's future, something no one saw coming.
Number 5. The Paradox of the Future. What began as cultural terrorism ended up becoming one of the country's biggest exports. Far from censoring black metal, Norway integrated it. Today, the bands that burned churches win culture awards equivalent to Grammys and are studied in music academies. Even the Ministry of Foreign Affairs trains its diplomats to talk about this music because it attracts thousands of tourists. It is the Norwegian ability to take darkness, package it, and sell it to the world.
But the biggest Norwegian contradiction is not musical, it is energetic. If you walk through the streets of Oslo today, you will notice a strange silence. There is no roar of engines. More than 80% of new cars sold are electric. It is the nation with the most Teslas per capita in the world. The air is pure, the future looks bright. But who pays for this green revolution? Oil. Norway is the dealer who doesn't consume their own supply. It extracts millions of barrels of crude to sell abroad and pollute other skies, using those profits to clean its own. Perhaps that economic tranquility explains their strangest media obsession, slow TV. In a world addicted to quick cuts and TikTok dopamine, millions of Norwegians sit in front of the TV to watch a train moving forward in real time for 7 hours. No cuts, no narration, no drama, just the landscape passing by, or a ship sailing for 5 days straight. It is a silent protest against the rush of the modern world, a collective national meditation that says we are in no hurry because we have already arrived where we wanted to be. That connection with the landscape is sacred and is protected by an ancient law, allemannsretten, the right of public access. In Norway, nature has no owners. You can camp anywhere in the country, even on private property, as long as you are 150 meters from the nearest house. The forests, the fjords, and the mountains belong to everyone. It is absolute freedom. There are no fences saying no trespassing, because the land belongs to those who walk it, not those who hold the title deed. How does a society survive winters of total darkness, geographic isolation, and a nature that tries to kill you? The answer is an untranslatable word, kuselig. It is not just cozy, it is a state of mind. It is lighting a candle when there is a storm outside. It is the smell of burnt wood, wool, and coffee. It is human warmth as a shield against existential cold. Norwegians have learned that they cannot control the weather or the darkness of the universe, but they can control the light inside their own homes. Norway is the country of extremes, where the sun never sets and where it never rises, where murderers have keys to their cells and penguins are generals, where we store seeds to save the world and extract the oil that could condemn it. It is a place that teaches us that civilization is not about dominating nature, but about finding a way, however strange, to survive in it with elegance. If the world ends tomorrow, we already know where the last refuge will be.
If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. See you on the next adventure. Bye!